I'm Chris Burnett from Working Title, one of the co-founders. We started working with Microsoft Flight Simulator in 2020, doing open source modifications on avionics, and shortly thereafter got in touch with Microsoft and with Jorg and joined the Flight Simulator team in 2021. And since then, we've been working with Microsoft to enhance the avionics in 2020, and then we were invited to join them on the journey of 2024, which is completely amazing. So we've been doing work on the flight plans and flight planning system in the back end of the sim, as well as creating the front end sort of EFB and flight planning interface. And we're also working on avionics. We've got a couple new avionics packages, the Primus Epic and the UNS, as well as some new airliners. So lots of stuff going on for 2024.
Yeah, cool.
And I'm Brandon Yaeger, founder of GotFriends. We're a small team, very small team of 4 people. We all started as freeware, dabbled a little bit in payware, kind of got a community built behind us, and Microsoft took notice, and in 2023 we started working on 2024 with them. So we're fairly new to the game, but we specialize in just kind of making all types of aircraft, specifically for the next sim, gliders, and bush aircraft. Yeah, absolutely. So the 2 gliders coming to the simulator are going to be the Pipistrel Taurus M, which is a really cool 15-meter glider, and the STEMI S12G, which is a very kind of luxury long touring glider. Both of them have retractable engine, or in the STEMI's case, propeller, that you can go ahead and turn on or off throughout your flight to give you that assistance or extension. Our team also, as you mentioned, worked on the new LX family, which includes the LX navigation and the LX barometer, which are working off the base of Working Title for the back end. And that way we can kind of create the flight plans and turn them into common glider tasks and really have that experience that you really haven't been able to have outside of more custom add-ons and not necessarily in the base. For gliding. And so that's going to give glider pilots the ability to kind of chase that gate with the proper altitude, go to the next waypoint, see all the time, so they can, if they're gliding with all their friends, they can have all those kind of advanced measures to kind of tell them how they've been doing, as well as thermal tracking, which will show live on the display with the weather. And same with the barometer, we have multiple options, whether that comes down to just positive or negative or both tones. You can kind of adjust those frequencies to kind of do what you want. Same with the scalability of just your barometer in general. We've added so many options. It's very user customizable from beginner to expert. Right. There's so much you can do. That system's very deep, but it also can be very simple for those who it's their introduction into gliding for the first time. And that's kind of why we really like those 2 glider choices for 2024 is they kind of can give some of those guys who might not be comfortable just kind of gliding on that lemon air, kind of gives them that assist where they can turn on that engine if they really want to, but you don't have to. So if you're a really hardcore glider pilot and you just want to get up in there and then kind of just rest peacefully up in the clouds, you can. And kind of have that challenge.
For me personally, no engine, only the sound of that's the best sound, you can ever have.
Absolutely.
On a glider. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I think in terms of how is the experience, it's a great experience. From the beginning, it's been incredibly collaborative. So Jorg and the Microsoft Flight Simulator team are fantastic to work with. And the folks at Asobo are actually great to work with as well. Everyone's super interested in what we have to say and interested in feedback. In terms of how we decide what to work on and how demanding things are, we work together to figure out what are the most important tasks. So there's a bit of a core sim strike team, if you will, within Microsoft, including people from Asobo, from Working Title, and from Microsoft. We get together once a week and we just prioritize tasks and figure out what the community is most interested in, and those are the things we work on.
Yeah, and from my side, it's very similar to GotFriends, very cohesive back and forth. We have new ideas, they're very interested in our new ideas, kind of what they're hearing from our community, what aircraft are interesting. They also know that we're experts in our field, so if there's a glider or a bush aircraft they're very interested in kind of showcasing or getting started, they come to our team for our opinion on that as well. And so it's a very nice environment where we kind of work hand in hand together and there's been no problem there, and it's not a one-way street. It's definitely a two-way cohesive environment.
Definitely not. That I describe it as a fairy tale story. It started with 5 of us just working, and then a few people joined the team on the community project, and then suddenly in November of 2020, on the Dev Q&A, Jorg said, "Hey, if your working title, email me," and he gave us his email address right on the Dev Q&A, and that's where the conversation started. And he was really interested in the community feedback, and I think that is shown here in what we're seeing now with Flight Simulator 2024. So he was incredibly interested in what we had to say, and ultimately, we had the confidence in what he wanted to do and what Jorg's vision was, so we were able to all quit our jobs, start working title, and do it for real. But no, I never imagined. We're at 27 right now, I think, on our team, and I would have never imagined that we would be where we are. So incredibly grateful. It's been such a great experience.
So as far as an aircraft developer, just seeing the kind of depth they put into the flight model now, I know you guys kind of saw that during the presentation with the new wake turbulence and stuff, and you can kind of see those points that wrapped around the aircraft that now support complex shapes and things like that. So much tools have been given to us as developers now to ensure that our flight model is accurate and very highly detailed compared to 2020. And these are kind of things that, unless you're kind of a developer and you know the back end of how a lot of these systems are working, you're kind of a little blind to it because you only see the visual at the end of the day. But as a developer, the things that are really happening in the back end now, the new features, the new parameters that we can input, there is so much more that really do enhance the way the aircraft flies in 2024.
Yeah, I think for me, it's a little hard to be totally neutral because we had a lot of discussions with Asobo about the new systems, particularly on the aircraft side. So Seb mentioned in the presentation, they've introduced new fuel system, new pneumatic system, new hydraulic system, new electrical system. And all of those are meant to add more realism and complexity to those systems. And we're taking advantage of those in the new aircraft and in the avionics. So I think they're great. I think they're great steps forward, and I think aircraft developers are going to like having the additional flexibility that's added.
It's almost hard to be neutral when there's so much great things that just came with the new sim. I'm extremely over the moon. And that's talking as a neutral party. Like, I really am excited for the new features. It allows me to do so much more making aircraft.
I would say when we started the process, the real objective was to embrace the 2/3 of simmers right now. Like Jorg talked about in the presentation, there's kind of 15 million pilots, right? And maybe 4 or 5 million of those are what we'd call core simmers, right? And the other 10 aren't. Our vision was to help close the gap for that new audience and let people transition into more complex flight planning. But at the same time, we wanted to offer that complete flight planning experience in the simulator. So I would say we drew inspiration from real world flight planning almost more than we did sim flight planning. So we looked a lot at kind of ForeFlight and how the ForeFlight app looked. We've got some licenses to that to check for our developers to check out. I've used Garmin Pilot and ForeFlight both. I've used flightplan.com as well for real flight planning. So we brought a lot of that kind of real world flight planning knowledge in, but we wanted to keep it approachable for people who are new. So I think there's still a place for the SimBrief and Navigraph and some of the other tools that are catered towards a really highly detailed experience. And I don't say that because I think we're not offering a detailed experience, but because some people will be used to or want to continue with that experience, and I think that's great. We're not trying to replace that, but we do think it was a gap in the sim that there weren't these kind of pre-flight activities. And the idea we were aiming for with Flight Sim 2024 was to really simulate the full pilot experience. And you see that on the career side with learning how to fly and getting your certifications. And we thought the same is true with, okay, we want to pre-flight the aircraft. And David talked a little bit about that. And you go out and actually move the ailerons and the elevators just like you would in real life. And another thing you do in real life is calculate your fuel and make sure you're going to have enough reserves and all that kind of stuff. So we wanted that. We wanted to have that experience. There will be charts. It's the Lufthansa Lido data and charts. They'll be updated on the 28-day cycle for nav data, and I think it's a 60-day cycle for charts. So that stuff will all be there. We would like to do that. So a couple things that are worth saying. First of all, the flight planning app is a website as well as the tablet in the sim. So you access it with your Xbox credentials. So there will be a website you can go to plan your flight. It's mobile and tablet friendly, so you can do that. But it's not fully synced once you're in flight yet, but we're looking at ways to do that. So that's sort of on the horizon for later on.
Yeah, so I think working with Microsoft has given us a plethora of tools that we've just never been able to access before. And a lot of I think the biggest one is the manufacturers themselves. I know that Zlin Aviation and Mike Patey specifically, and STEMIs as well, they're a really nice environment where we can go talk to their manufacturers. They can feed us information, some things that we don't have. These are things that I don't think I could have done as a small team that we had before. We could definitely be sending out emails and hoping that some of them respond. But it's really nice to be able to be working with Microsoft and have that backing and that stability and that reassurance for those manufacturers as well that they're working with the correct team. And I know that that's something that's really kind of changed our perspective on aircraft development, is being able to get hands-on with some of these resources and aircraft so that we can make sure that they're, at the end of the day, as realistic and highly detailed as they can be.
Yeah, I'll just add, we work directly with Boeing, we work directly with Textron, we've been hands-on. We actually went to the Dreamlifter to when they did the scanning and the sound recording for it. We went there to look at all the avionics and everything. We've had tons of access that is totally facilitated by the relationship with Microsoft, hands down, no question. It's way easier to do what we do with Microsoft.